He is. But
he's
got
man.
nothing on you, my friend. Anyway, nothing on you.
Thank you, birthday boy.
You're welcome. President-elect Trump expected to meet with U.S. intelligence officials later today and receive a briefing on Russian hacking. And joining us now, South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds. He sits on the Armed Services Committee. Senator, you got some great lighting, too.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I listened to everything I could about yesterday, and I understand all of the ramifications. But at this point, do we know any more about the actual substance and evidence that definitively got the intelligence agencies to this conclusion? Are you totally convinced at this point that they've got this right and there's no conjecture?
We haven't seen the reports yet. Excuse me. We haven't seen the reports yet. We understand that President Obama has two reports, a classified and an unclassified report. We think we'll have access to both of those in the near future, but then we'll be able to actually make our own determination. At this point, the different agencies seem to be convinced that they can show clear evidence that Russia was directly involved, but we haven't seen the evidence. We'll take a look at it then. But, you know, these guys are professionals. They're good at what they do. We've been working with them now. I've been working with them for 2 years, and I find them to be very sincere in what they do, and they wouldn't be making these types of comments if they didn't have some pretty good evidence.
Although if you admit that we should, the Clapper admitted we should be skeptical, just not disparaging. If you admit you should be skeptical, then it just seems like there's still some wiggle room. And I don't think that this Washington Post, the notion that there was celebration when the election outcome, when the results were released to senior officials in Russia, there was cheering. I mean, I heard some cheering in different parts of my neighborhood when the election outcome was finished, and none of those people had hacked into the DNC.
There was a lot of cheering in my part of the country when the election results were done. But look, a bigger picture here. When we talk about cyber and what's going on, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's very important to bring this to the national attention. And number one, when we get into the emails and so forth, that's only one part of it.
Right.
We've got to be talking about what happens when they get into the different security systems within the United States, our financial systems, the operation of our trains, the operations of our communications, the financial services markets, and so forth. And those are the things that we're trying to make sure that we have access to programs that we can protect those important infrastructure items. And we want to continue to talk about whether or not we can do that in real time to protect against the damage when they're trying to incur it.
Although it's been going on, not even just for the past 8 years, even for longer than that. We saw how many public employees were hacked by China. That wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. It's just a little bit weird, not weird, but maybe telling that the straw that breaks the camel's back also helps to delegitimize the election for the next president, too. I mean, you don't think, I mean, there's certainly, that makes it seems like it's a little bit more out front from certain sectors because of what it's able to do. There's no political side to this, Senator?
There's always a political side to it. And the reality is there was the hacking of the emails, but it wasn't just Democrats. They didn't try just Democrats. They tried other places as well. They tried to get into the RNC as well. They just simply weren't able to do so at this time. But once again, bigger picture, cyber activity is going on. We've got to do a better job in the United States of making sure that we can defend ourselves. And that's part of what we've got to focus on. This is bringing it to the national, this is bringing it to the forefront in America today. Right. Let's not lose the opportunity to talk about what we have to do to protect our infrastructure against those kinetic or those cyber attacks. If this was a kinetic attack with someone who's coming in and attacking with a weapon, everybody would be up in arms saying, well, how are we going to fix it and what are we going to do next to defend against it? Right. That's what we should be talking about when it comes to cyber activity as well. And we're going to have to continue to focus on the big picture. So, yeah, that's absolutely true. Let's talk about whether this is an act of war from Russia. Let's talk about, what type of punitive action we should take with Russia. We've already taken some punitive action. And then just the overall notion of who do we deal with and negotiate with and talk to, and who do we just confront full on?
I mean, we've decided to talk to Iran at this point. And I know this hacking it's against the law. They're meddling. They're troublemakers. They're doing all this. I don't know whether they're actually funding terrorists. I don't know whether, we talk to everybody at this point. We make deals with Iran. What kind of a relationship should we have with the other superpower, the other nuclear superpower? Iran doesn't even have the bomb yet. These guys got 1,500 of them or something. So these are the guys we want to. These are the guys we want to, confront directly. But we want to talk to Iran.
We have to be able to communicate with those individuals that we disagree with. If we can communicate and we can stave off that misunderstanding and stop a war before it starts, we win. But on the other hand, you've also, if you lay out and delineate a clear policy about what is considered an act of war in cyberspace, you might very well begin to deter those individuals from going that far in the future. That's the reason why we proposed last year a cyber act of war provision that now is becoming a part of the National Defense Authorization Act this year, directing the administration to lay out the policies that would identify if something happens, is it considered an act of war? How would we respond to it? How would we defend against it? And to start that discussion now, once we start laying out what is considered to be an act of war or an act of aggression that's going to get a response, now the bad actors across the country or across the world start to think twice about whether or not they really want to incur the wrath and if they want to have the damages done to their systems that we would then be authorized to do.
Okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does make sense. It does make sense. It's just, watching everything in this highly politicized environment. It's just interesting to watch everything. I've talked about this earlier. The ire from the left about questioning the intelligence community versus, what I heard about Comey after the second email investigation. I mean, it's just, do what I say, not what I do. It's just, there's hypocrisy and all around. And you deal with that. I don't know how you deal with it every day. You're down there.
There's nothing wrong with having an honest discussion and a debate about things you disagree with. And there's nothing wrong with going back to the Intelligence Committee and asking them to show how they're getting their data and so forth.
I want to see
That's
the
a
final
healthy
report.
discussion.
I'm interested in the final report. I don't know. There was a there's a WMD report too, and there was a Benghazi report too. So I want to see all of them. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you,
Senator. We appreciate it. Okay.